Hey everybody, hi, it's Ryan from Red Level, and today I'm going to give you we're going to be talking about work from home best practices. So we're going to look at some technical things and some practical things. So with the COVID virus going live and just the world responding, especially here in America over the last 24 hours, there's been a huge need for information about working from home and working remotely, not being in these public spaces of our offices. And so one of the things that Microsoft, they published a letter from Lily Zhang from their Shanghai office, and they have been in this mode since January. So basically all the month of February. So they posted this great letter of like her best practices and things that their team's been doing to say really to deal with this new reality that they have. So a couple of three main points I got from the article is number one, they said stay well. Okay, so it means for them, that means like exercise every day, make sure that you eat well, have structured time. And so she gave some quick tips on that. And then she said go all in. And that was the big point, was this like just go everything remote, you know, and really that was really kind of really fed into. Then the last one is support your teammates, actually like check on people, like you know how you walk, you're taking a break, you go walk past a friend's desk and you chat for a minute. Well, just like ping somebody over chat and Teams and you can check in with them that way. All right, and or just do like kind of that random video call. So that would be some of the cool things that she really brought out in her own article. I thought were really helpful. She also mentioned for your organization is really begin to share information remotely, like have a daily briefing that you can share video and it's recorded so that people can reference it at different times, because they're going to be handling childcare and they have a different life and a schedule when they're working and managing with home life and their marriage of the kind of the mashing up of their work life. And it says, keep it moving, keep your business going. And lastly is, hey, really push to use these tools to then have your big events even hold those remotely. So thanks, Lily, for sharing. I thought that was really a great article. I got it here, and this PowerPoint will be available to anybody. Now, what are some things that you guys could do to get ready for your workforce now going from home? Now, Microsoft has this kind of roadmap, and this would take a month or kind of some planning to implement, but it really gives you a picture of like what is the work needed to make this happen and move from a legacy, everybody's in the office, network infrastructure is only internally, internal applications, and if you're remote, it's only for like VPNs. So number one, get your stuff to the cloud, get your identity, set up multi-factor authentication. So hey, you get pinged on a phone, you got to text in a code. Okay, you get texted a code so you can log in. We know it's really you and not somebody else. Okay, managing devices with Intune so we know where the data is actually going to. And then start using some of the productivity applications like Microsoft Teams. We're getting a bunch of calls from clients over the last 12 hours like, oh my goodness, we're going to have our workforce in Michigan. We're going to be sending them home. Can we deploy Teams and go to that? So yes, here's what you need to know. So like Teams and OneDrive and then SharePoint, all these cloud-based tools really enable those functions, meetings, collaborations, and the list goes on. You're like, well, Ryan, our organization is nowhere near that. Check this out. Microsoft has a commitment that you can get Teams for free over the next 6 months. So think about like, I can't wait in line and do the full version. Great. We have our kids in Michigan here are going to be home from school for 4 weeks. 3 weeks mandated, and then spring break happens on top of that. So that's going to be a really long time for parents and families to start dealing with this new reality of working at home. It's going to be so long that, you know, after 21 days, you develop a habit. It'll be a habit. It'll be awkward, and it'll be more strange to be at school than to not be at school. All right, so Teams for free comes in an A1 or an E1 license, government cloud and education, but it's not available for GCC High or the Department of Defense. So thank you, Microsoft. Ding, way to go. All right, so but now you're thinking, well, okay, now if Teams is brand new, how do I get a hold of this? So Microsoft just released this 5-page PDF. I got the link right there. Okay, that tells kind of like a quick start guide to at least get started using the tool. All right, and even if people haven't used it, they at least have used some kind of chat-based tool, and that's the first step, is chatting back and forth, one-on-one, and then attending meetings. The communication platform is really what it gets into. And so that's really great. And so I would say, hey, workers, send them home with laptops, give them this 5-page guide. there's also this link. Microsoft has free online training. So it's got the whole video program, resources, you can go there, okay? And there's also this great thing called learning pathways. You can actually have all of this content installed directly into a SharePoint site in your own tenant. So it can feel like you're hosting it and designing it and put it all together. I've built that for a couple of clients before, and it's pretty darn cool. All right. Now, I also would say these are all good things. Send people home with laptops, get them going, get them using Teams, getting chat going, all that stuff's awesome. But eventually you're going to have to come back and say, okay, let's now strategize. Okay, how do we want to use this thing? So that's where governance will come into play, or have some official Teams training. So we offer, 3-hour classes, 2-hour classes on just Teams. We can do it, break it down to 1-hour sessions of like just communication features or the collaboration features. So there's a lot of decision to be made around that. So governance and training can help out. All right, so now let's get into a little more of like some of the best practices, like soft skills. So I just did a quick kind of like search on the internet on what was out there from like their best practices, came across the whole series of articles, okay? And so the first kind of list item I had was this. The first thing that came to mind was keep a schedule. If when I'm working at home, that's the most important thing for me. And I always track, I start at 7, I'm ending at 4. Okay, and I always try to take a lunch break. I notice when I don't take a lunch break, my afternoons are just like poop. I just don't get as much done. I don't feel great about it, that kind of stuff. Okay, number 2, I love to start work early. Okay, since I don't have a commute, okay, I get more of that early golden hours type of work. For me, the morning can be the most brain productive time, and the afternoon is really great for kind of meetings. All right. I always like to just dress the same way I would if I was going to the office, and have a space, okay? Or have a space that you go to, right? Space in your home, space that you go to. For years, I've worked in Panera. I've spent more time in Panera than probably most of the high school workers that work there, okay, in my lifetime. And they also offer free refills, and so does Starbucks if you use the mobile app to pay for your drip coffee. All right, so that is really, really cool. I think those things are really important to me. Those are really nice, okay? The only issue with the Panera and Starbucks, they're not really like quiet, okay? But I like that noise for me. That really helps me focus on those spaces when I'm in there, all right? But it's not really great for holding meetings, especially if I'm gonna be using like a headset. It's kind of like this, unless you have like a noise canceling headset that really is a microphone that they can only hear when you're talking. Those environments really begin to work. All right. Next, set ground rules. If you're working at home, set some ground rules with the people in your space. So the kids and spouses and significant others says, hey, this is when I'm working. When I'm not in the office, I'm not in this space, hey, then you can talk to me, or vice versa. And I'll get to you, text me, do something, come up with the ground rules of how you guys want to communicate. For me, this is really important is when you're working at home, it's an awesome thing. Really enjoy it. Take the time to do that. Cuddle, take your dog for a walk during your break. Do things you normally can't do when you're at the office, okay? And so I heard a story of a guy, he says, when I'm working at home for the week, I make a loaf of bread because I just can't do that. And that's something important to him, so that's what he does. For me, it's like I just like to be outside. So I usually like to go outside, take my dog for a walk, okay? Those kinds of things are really great. This is a big deal for me. I'm an extrovert. I like people. And for me, if I'm in my house, if I'm physically in my house for longer than 32 hours, I mentally start to break down, okay? If I don't leave the actual building that I'm in. So for me, it's important to every day to leave the house for something, even if it's just going to the store. Hey, you need the store? I'll go. I'll run to this, I'll do that. Running errands, like just getting out, seeing something new is really important to my mental health. And so that's super important to me, but it may not be for other folks. So, but that's just a note for me personally. Okay, socialize with other colleagues. Don't just be a robot, okay? Be social. And then also remember, social media is a trap, okay? It is gonna suck their time away from you. So make some guidelines on that. Some people have gone so far to say, hey, when I work in an incognito window, so I'm not logged in automatically to those platforms. It's like, oh, that's pretty smart. I like that. Okay. And then also plan your time. They mentioned this great tip of like get the meat of your work done in the morning, send your calls and stuff for the afternoon. And someone mentioned this, they love to prep their meals the day before and then eat. But for me, I love that, like going into the kitchen and like thinking about something else, right? Using my brain to think about food and prepping the meal and using my hands and standing up in the physical exertion of just cooking. It's just, I don't know if exertion is the right word, but just the energy it takes to do that. For me, I find that great and stimulating and just kind of like, oh, okay, it's like a massage to my brain. Okay. Then last one is if you're a TV person, keep it on in the background, right? Nothing wrong with like white noise and kind of a thing, unless you're just like, oh my god, so intriguing. Music can be like that for me too. I noticed that if music is incredibly interesting or if it's new, I gotta be really careful not to listen to new music while I'm working because I'm like, oh, that's so good, right? And I'm not actually working anymore. So I always try to find kind of that playlist of common, more familiar type of hits I go with. So there's some best practices for working at home, for just when you're there, what can you do, okay? If you have kids at home, there's also some good practices when dealing with the kids, okay? And this is kind of like what we do, and my wife and I, we do when they're at home for like over like the summertime or something of that nature. So we love to give them a task list. Okay, there's opportunities for online learning. We give our kids like little, hey, did you practice your instrument? We give weekly goals, okay, and incentives. I love it that you can give your kids you can give them a chance to focus on their sport or educate themselves about their sport. And so also I really encourage your kids to FaceTime with their other friends, because that school is a great place to educate, but it's also their place to socialize, and they have to have that kind of connection points, especially if you're going through kind of this, tweener to teenage middle school area. Those kids, that social network and that bond and connection is super important. So really get after it. So I found a couple of resources. Okay, one of our consultants here, he uses this tool here. He's planning on using OutSchool for his kids to give them some additional education. And it's like IT kind of coding stuff. I thought it was really intriguing. For me, I'm a soccer coach, so I love this app. I recommend it to everybody, called Techne. And so it's a work at home application and also gives you a lot of competition. You get like a leaderboard, who is doing what and spending most time, and gives you kind of like these incentives of different colored socks as you move through it. So I love that one. And then also, this is just a quick Google search for smart music. So kids can practice and work at home in a collaborative environment. All right, so there you guys have it. So that is my tips in 5-Minute Friday with the COVID-19 virus. Man, we're really looking at a new world, and a lot of us are working from home. Microsoft Teams is your go-to tool set, and there's also some good practices and for dealing with yourself and also with your kids. Thanks a lot, and be safe, everyone. And I pray that this next section of kind of like 4 weeks is very productive for you, and you guys have a great time. We'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.